Now, moving on to our next keynote, and it will be on the future of gaming in India, and it will be delivered by Dr. Subi Chaturvedi, Chief Corporate and Public Affairs Officer, Zupi. Welcome, Dr. Subi.
Thank you so much, the entire team at AdGully, for one, putting it together, and a special word of congratulations to Bajoya, who's always ahead of the curve. On behalf of Zubi and my entire team, we're a young startup. I'm very, very excited to be here today and have this conversation with you. I think this is one of the most important discussions of our time. So truly delighted that we're seeing a coming together of the industry where a lot of similar conversations are taking place. But this one's truly special because we end up staying ahead, we end up holding relevant conversations. And therefore, the kind of discussions that we want to hold today are not just plainly about numbers. You'll hear a lot about the industry speaking, and you'll hear about statistics. But I do want to start by telling you that, what we're discussing here is us being at the cusp of a revolution of sorts, where it's not just about saying that, hey, these are the statistics and therefore listen to us. It is about changing lives and impacting people who are not just part of the metros, but connect with us from every single city. And we say this with great humility and responsibility, that the connection between India to Bharat is truly going to be built through gaming and gamification. I am now reminded of a time where I started my own internet governance journey, and a lot of people would say, hey, you're not an engineer, but what are you doing here? And that's what gaming and gamification is about. It teaches you, like the internet does, that it's a safe, liberating space. Then there's not just one internet, but there's 7 layers of the internet. And therefore, when you start looking at gaming and gamification, there's no single Indian gamer. And that's the lesson that you truly take away when you start looking at what is the opportunity and what is the potential and what is the difference that we can together make on the industry. And therefore, I decided to call this conversation On the Road to Becoming the Gaming Hub of the World. India's done rather well. If I look back and I look at the numbers, and we're constantly trying to drive home a point that this is indeed the sunrise sector in India. We look at broad categories. You see esports, you see games like FIFA, and you see games like FPS. Casual games, again, need no introduction. This is a category that people thought would not generate too much of an interest, but you'd be amazed to know that at least 43% of all gamers in India, and they currently stand at a very strong, sizable number of 400 million, are women. And women are also spending money online. Women are also taking agency and voice through gaming. So when you look at core gamers, and you do a rough estimate, you look at a fairly significant number of a 33%. You look at transaction-based and competitive online games of skill. And this is a category that Zupi not only founded and pioneered, but is championing. We're encouraging similar conversations to take place across the country. And we're also taking some of the most innovative game formats across the world. When we talk about benefits of gaming, you've seen the pandemic. This is truly a black swan event. This is also something that has happened, which has led to a paradigm shift. Black swan, by its own inherent understanding, means that it can rarely happen, but when it does, a lot changes. Nobody had expected the kind of lockdowns. Nobody had expected the entire global economy, so to speak, trying to come up with new and innovative formats. And this is where, gaming comes in, not just mental health, well-being, entertainment, competition, and excitement, but we're also looking at ways of relaxation. We're looking at building communities. We're looking at coming together with like-minded people and not just staying locked up inside your room, but building and sharing this community where you discuss issues, where you take stands, you build causes, and then you exchange ideas of what this multiplayer gaming format does for your mental well-being and your emotional health. When we talk about skill building, this is a very, very critical conversation that a lot of us need to have today. The World Economic Forum says about 700 million Indians need to be skilled by 2030. This is a fairly large number if you look at traditional formats. So when we say skill building, gaming, and there are several research studies to support that, leads to greater adroitness, it leads to better strategy, it leads to decision making, and it leads to an enhanced motor neural ability. So while we're building our argument for a budget which is driven by mental health, wellness, and maybe moving economies of tomorrow towards a happiness index driven budget, let's look at some hard numbers. So between 2019 and 2020, it's only the online gaming and digital media segments which registered higher growth numbers. And these are fairly hard hitting numbers. When you look at our compounded annual growth rate, 2019 to 2022, it is projected to be the highest amongst all categories across print, digital, film, animation, even out of home media, radio, and music, to land at a solid 43%. So online gaming was the only segment that has expected its growth, that has bucked all trends, and it continues to go based on innovative formats, based on formats which marry to inherent advantages that India brings, and which is your understanding of tech and your understanding of culture and your inherent expertise in storytelling. And if you look at our trajectory, overall numbers, we stand just casual gaming stands at 2.28 billion US dollars. It's 3 times the growth between the market size between 2018 and 2021. These are fairly strong numbers, which then call for what is it that we can do as a community, as society, and even as our elected government to support an industry that's truly making its mark. And I'll list out our asks as well. This is a bit like our Santa wish list, but this is where a lot of us are working very closely with the government, where we're sensitizing the government and we're showcasing every single aspect of gaming and gamification. So the number of gamers are expected to reach a solid 65.7 crores by 2025. Currently, they stand roughly at over 400 million. When I look at India's position, we are responsible for over 17% of all global mobile game downloads. And this makes India the fastest growing online gaming market in the world. We're already amongst the 5 biggest mobile gaming markets in the world. And currently, just in Q1 to Q3 of 2020, there have been 7.3 billion mobile game installs. This is not just a reflection of the number of people. It tells you that whoever has access to the internet in India is experiencing some form of gaming, gamification, and learning. So if I were to look at India from a developing country, emerging economy lens, economic growth, and our Honorable Prime Minister set up a fairly ambitious target of a $5 trillion digital economy. This growth, if it's going to happen, not only do you need access and accessibility, because our current, we're roughly about 50% of Indians who are online, but we need to make sure that we give reasons to India to not just come online, but also stay online. Also make sure that the internet is a safe space, it is a productive space. So how do you drive positive engagement? I'm reminded of a site experiment that IIM Ahmedabad had done several years ago, where they use entertainment to teach literacy. You would be amazed to know in India, there are about 200 million Indians whose first experience with literacy is keypad literacy. So they type in Roman, they've never gone to a school, and yet they're engaging with each other. They're communicating messages. They're telling people whether they'll show up for work today or not. And this engagement, this bid to improve mental health through interactive engagement is what gaming and gamification brings to all of us. Skilling, again, how do you skill such a vast population? When I look at the impact of COVID immediately, I think it's women, young girls, and children who've been worst affected. So today there are about 168 million kids who are out of school. UNICEF has done a study which actually tells us, and scarily enough, that just because of COVID, these last 2 years have meant that we've gone 10 years behind on the critical development markers for all our children. How will we make up for this? Can it be done through, traditional methods of learning, where we're automatically assuming teachers to teach how they taught in classrooms and translate that learning into a video format? Video, as you know, 80% of all internet is going to be video in the next 2 years, but we also need to understand the language and syntax. So just because you were transacting in a classroom doesn't automatically mean that you're set to teach in the online space. And how do you then upskill? This is where gaming and gamification play a great role. What is it that we need by way of support? What are the key challenges that the industry and we're facing us today? Is an uncertain regulatory environment. And that's the major red flag where it can control or curtail the growth of the promising sector. See, I understand, when the governments all come at it from the right intent, there is no question on the intent. It is where the onus of the responsibility lies with the industry to make sure that as industry bodies, as industry associations, and as major players of the industry, we're consistently engaging with our government. We're empowering them with the information to make the right decisions. And this is where continuous engagement, continuous education will truly help us build a path forward so that we don't end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Skilled manpower is the other challenge where, you constantly see unicorns, even startup founders tweeting at each other. How do you find resources? How do you find engineers who are industry ready? Unfortunately, in February earlier this year, there was a report that said 40% of our engineers are not directly ready for the job market. So how is it that hiring can happen, where bridge programs can occur, where live projects can be channelized more with industry and academia partnerships? These are all great ideas that we at Zupi are powering. And the most important thing is, as a society, we need to come together to combat unscientific attitude, regressive attitudes, and biases that keep any innovative industry from growing. See, it's really simple. This is the journey that we make from science and magic, where once you start engaging, once you start understanding the benefits of technology, and it'll always be a two-way street. There will be bad actors, but do we have enough regulation and policy in the current ecosystem? Yes, we do. So this is where we're asking for a central progressive policy framework to protect investors and startups, to make sure that the real potential of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliance Bharat, can get unlocked under a progressive ministry like Ministry of IT. And we draw direct parallels to extend this argument to say that, look, it's in the 2000s, how IT and ITES grew is through minimum government, maximum governance, good governance, and a light touch regulatory framework. And that is what any innovative, startup which is nimble-footed will always ask of its government. Trust us, regulation has to be both carrot and stick, and therefore the carrot also needs to come through, where you incentivize good practices, where you celebrate early wins, and you set up great role models. So this is where, when it comes to unlocking opportunities, we've been able to create game formats which have gone universal, which have been language agnostic, which have been geography agnostic. And this is where new users, new territories, and further growth is waiting for us. And this is when you can truly have a digital India that is empowered. If I talk about hard numbers, the gaming industry has employed 40,000 people in 2020. This has risen from 25,000 in 2017. We've seen 113% growth in the industry by 2025. Those are the projected numbers. So new startups and expansions will mean new direct as well as indirect jobs. Many companies such as Zupi have seen 100% growth in headcount during the pandemic, and we're still not stopping. We have major plans. We will continue to double our workforce by the end of the year. We expect 150% growth in direct employment opportunities, and this doesn't even begin to count the indirect jobs, and that's just one startup. When we look at industry experts, and we've done a lot of studies where we're very responsibly saying that up to 2 lakh new jobs would be added by 2025. So what are we looking at? We're looking at jobs in AI, we're looking at immersive tech, we're looking at VFX, we're looking at coding, we're looking at 3D and 4D, we're looking at marketing and communications, we're looking at data science, we're looking at design, and we're looking at UI and UX. And the great news, you're not just building in India for India, you're creating these jobs, you're creating this talent so that Now that because of COVID, we're all working from home, this is place agnostic, we can easily take this talent and get it to be a part of the global workforce. So when I talk about Digital India, this is where a lot of us are in a position to contribute. When we say the $5 trillion dream, Digital India, the Prime Minister just celebrated the 6th anniversary of this most successful program. It broadly had 3 pillars. It talked about critical infrastructure. It talked about empowering citizens. And most importantly, it talked about bringing more government services online. So when we're looking at this dream, clearly a private and a public effort is required to bridge this. What is it that works really well for you? Our broadband highways, our programs like BharatNet for last mile connectivity and access to high speed broadband. And this is where, we will be connecting and building this bridge with high-speed fiber and high-speed connectivity for over 600,000 villages in India, for over 250,000 village panchayats. So e-Kranti, electronic delivery of services, improved access to critical government. And that's been the ask. You've seen what the Jam Trinity has been able to unlock for us. And this is where, if we continue to build, you're looking at universal access to mobile connectivity. You're looking at further reduction in prices of data and devices. You're looking at cheaper smartphones, where smartphone penetration increases. You'll see a lot more services coming online. And you're also going to see electronics manufacturing, where affordable data, affordable devices, coupled with IT for jobs. So training and skilling of our young people, making sure they're contributing equally to the workforce, is the dream that we're dreaming together. So Skilling India, again, let's share some numbers. 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025, according to WEF. 1.4 million people need to be reskilled and upskilled only by the government and the industry together over a period of next 5 years. So this ambitious target can only be reached if we're looking at newer formats where there's higher recall and the turnaround times are much faster. So 290 million people working in the industry and service sectors also still need to be upskilled, not just reskilled. Imagine reskilling or upskilling even 50% of that through new age formats where learning is truly fun. So when we talk about how do we get this, how do we look at solutions, we're saying gamification is the way to go forward. Globally, it's worth on its own legs by, of about 27.8 billion US dollars. The remarkable reach of 440 million users. Imagine using games to reach more people. Imagine powering this learning through game-based formats and not just rote learning where you're translating offline to online. Improved access and connectivity. So this is the wheel, not just a fortune, but thought through strategy that we've put together that we think has all the key levers for change. Gaming and gamification is clearly language agnostic. Remember, it has a large number of online gamers, and they're coming not just from metros, but tier 3, tier 4 cities. Gamification is also an instant process of reward, where you make connections, where you instantly understand that this is how you can get to your path of learning forward faster. You can also choose the speed of learning depending upon testing and retesting. So let's look at a global case study. Tesco did this, and they ended up training 4,000 employees across 4 weeks, where 96% of the participants completed the required modules, and they scored an average of 84% across all modules. So take a boring corporate strategy manual, look at fire safety manuals, look at customer service, look at digital, look at retail. How do you unlock all of this together, right? You make a game out of it, you get employees to engage, you get employees to challenge each other, and you foster a learning environment which takes the pressure off classrooms and off performances. So 90% of all employees obviously liked content. There's a child in all of us. 70% thought that their knowledge had improved through this training, and 74% thought that the modules were of the absolute right length, right? So no more boring lectures where your mind is already switched off. And that's why we're saying that it's not a distant future. This is not a dream that we're talking about. Therefore, serious engagement is required both from regulatory as well as policy structures. You're looking at a sunrise sector which is worth over 3.9 billion US dollars. This is an opportunity by 2025, very real, tangible, and right there for you to touch, feel, and create. We need progressive policies, and that's why we ask for a central framework. Games of skill require special attention. They're not like any other game formats. And this is where courts have ruled, and recently the Honorable Madras High Court have ruled, where we have to rise above questions of morality or ideology and look at facts for facts, look at scientific basis for making sure that this is how policy making is happening, right? And not playing up to the gallery. A glorious opportunity stands in front of us. This is our chance that we need to take it. We need, what we've done at Zupi is we've created games which enhance retention, which enhance recall, which enhance competitiveness, and they make learning fun. They make discovery fun. And this is why we're powering a movement together with the industry where we're calling for gaming for good, and we're saying gaming is for everyone. So we've seen, dads now form dad gaming leagues. And this is such a beautiful way to bond with your children and unlock a very, very powerful tool when used right, when used responsibly. This is where responsible and ethical gaming comes in. And this is where we all need to come together for a movement that truly helps us walk on the road together, grow together, learn faster, and make sure that we're all putting India on the global map, unlocking its rightful place in the global value chain. So thank you so much for having me here. Truly happy and delighted, and many congratulations again to the entire AdGully team. I'm looking forward to the deliberations throughout the day. Very, very inspiring to share the space with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Subi.